speaker is Brjann Sigurgeirsson from Sweden, who runs a studio called Image and Form in Gothenburg. And Image and Form has released 4 noteworthy titles: Anthill for iOS, SteamWorld Dig, SteamWorld Heist, and SteamWorld Dig 2 for various platforms. So let's welcome Brjann. Is it working?
Maybe another day, right?
Let's get some more clapping. Come on, people. Let's cheer him up.
Oh, there. Let me just. I got it. Yeah. Okay. Now it's not. Something else. Oh, no, because it just looks like it's again.
Well, while we're checking that out, I just wanted to say thanks to Agnieszka because I thought it was a fucking fabulous talk. Give it up. That looks nice. Oh, that's actually what it's supposed to look like. Just a second. Oh yeah. Right, now really, if you can get the slides from Agnieszka, I really recommend that you get them, because every slide that she was, like everything she was saying, I was just sitting nodding. It's like, why? I was learning very, very much. And that's disturbing because I'm the guy who does the PR at Image and Form. I'm going to start, I'm going to talk about self-publishing a little bit. Her talk was fantastic, mine is going to be less fantastic, but and I'm going to miss a few subjects, and just raise your hand afterwards and ask me, well, what about this, and so on. And I have the answers. I might just not have the slides. I have the answers. That sounds preposterous. Riga is a strange place. Can we agree on that? Because, I mean, it started like this yesterday. Here's another round of applause for Vladimir Slav, the guy in the middle. He was guiding us around Riga yesterday. It was really, really cold, so yeah. Kind of sad that we didn't go out today. Or, well, I get to meet you guys, but like yesterday would have been better weather-wise. What I thought was really interesting was the 2 parking signs there. Like, maybe this is a thing in Riga, but like, they say exactly the same thing, except they will tow your car if you're on. It's not like a narrow street on one side. It's sort of like the same squarish thing. So like, if you're going to park your car, like, make sure that it doesn't get towed. Right? It's yeah, I thought that was really interesting. Okay. Here, Vladimir told us about a house where if you enter by accident, you might end up getting married in this house. Like where women can sort of hijack you and marry you. Apparently every Latvian person knows this. So now, okay, news to you? Yeah, okay, I thought it was really scary. And then we found this, like there's a building that has beer in the walls. How cool is that, right? So this house has beer in the walls, and then someone has been clever enough to sort of put taps, so you can sort of get the beer out of the wall. I think that's fantastic. I want to meet the guy who built the house. And I wonder how long it's been standing until someone found out that you could actually get like beer from that. I thought it was really, really cool. Then there was another picture that's not in the presentation. It was taken very late after karaoke and stuff. It was kind of hazy, or what do you call it? Shaky. Blurred is what is the word. This is me. Yeah, you can't really say that. It's pronounced Brjann Sigurgeirsson. It's easy for Icelandic people, not for anyone else. You can reach me on Twitter, which is, again, like Agnieszka said, it's a really good place to start. If you want to just pinpoint down like who you should reach out to in terms of PR and so on, you can sort of go look for them. In our case, just to answer that question too, I thought it was a very good question. We started out on Nintendo, and what I did is like I was just sort of carpet bombing Twitter, searching for the word Nintendo and whoever covers it, and try to get in touch that way. And then I tried to be as friendly as I could. I run Image and Forum, and since New Year's I'm also running a thing called Thunderful, which is a mix between two companies. I'll get to that. This is Image and Forum. I think there's one person lacking, otherwise that's all of us. You can see it's exceptionally pretty people, right? And it's taking on that sunny day in Sweden that happened once last year or something. So these are my awesome coworkers. They're very, very creative and hardworking. And these days, I don't do any programming anymore because I was really the weakest link in the chain. And people were polite enough to sort of point that out in a nice way. So now I'm sort of talking about our stuff instead. Also, sorry, I'm sort of going back to Agnieszka's talk because I thought there was one thing about press that I thought was really interesting. One good thing about press is that you can sort of, then you don't have people talking about your things. You can actually sort of direct what is being said about your game. You can push your story into a paper and like really decide what people read much of the time. Like if you have a YouTuber, that's great. A streamer is great too, but they're not saying what they might not be saying what you want them to say. So I think like websites that write or printed media can be really, really useful. We're probably most known for a series of games called SteamWorld something or other. Has anyone here played any of the SteamWorld games? All right, right. That's not so depressing. It used to be worse, actually. This is quite good. It started out with the one at the top left called SteamWorld Tower Defense. It's a very small effort that we made in 2010, and really an indie game. It's what it says it is. It's a tower defense game, and it features steam-driven robots. That's what all of these games have in common. So these robots are kind of cute, and it's practical to use robots because you can't kill a robot. You can sort of just dent it, or like what do you call it? Damage it a little bit, and then you can sort of patch it up again. And then in 2013, we made a game called SteamWorld Dig, which sort of put SteamWorld on the map. And then SteamWorld Heist in 2015, and SteamWorld Dig 2 in 2017. Yeah, since New Year's, I'm heading up a thing called Thunderful, which is a joint owner company for Image and Forum and a studio in Gothenburg called Zoink. Have you heard of those? They made a game called Faye together with EA, like a really pretty game. Now's the time you nod, even though you have never heard of this. And we are sort of self-publishing all the time. Hang on, I'm not going to be able to do this. That's awesome, getting an applause for being able to open the bottle. So what we do with Thunderful is like it completely owns both Image and Forum and Zoink. So me and the CEO of Zoink, we sort of decided to take ownership in each other's companies, if you understand what I mean. Like I used to half own my company and he used to half own his company. We have the same other half owner, and we just decided like if we're going to do stuff together, let's do it for real. Let's own each other's companies as well. So it's really good because it sort of highlights a thing that I wanted to mention, like also in reference to Agnieszka's fantastic talk, is like where do you start? To find out information, like journalists and so on. I think you shouldn't leave today without having talked to a lot of the other people in the room. You have an excellent opportunity now to bond with other developers. Maybe you guys meet all the time. I'm not sure how that works, but I mean, both Image Inform and Zoink, we're sitting in Gothenburg, Sweden, and in Sweden, like, Gothenburg is really an indie town. We have Stockholm, maybe you heard of that city, it's a shitty city, that's what we're saying, Gothenburg. They have a lot of great studios. They have DICE, they have King.com, and others, like really, really big studios. In Malmö, they also have a few big ones. They have Massive, make The Division and stuff like that. In Gothenburg, we have Image Inform is probably the second largest studio in Gothenburg, and Gothenburg is still the second biggest city in Sweden, so there should be more developers there. But there aren't. It's really like an indie town. And the best way to get any sort of information or knowledge, I think, is to just pester your peers. You know, talk to people that are sort of in the same boat as you. Like, if you're afraid of sharing information with anyone in Riga, then you're in trouble, I think. I mean, you only, sharing is caring, and like sharing is really good for you. You should definitely share your information with everybody who's nice, at least. So Zoink, they're not like us. So they're different. I mean, well, obviously it's different people and stuff. So it's they do sort of a variety of games. We've sort of recently we've only made SteamWorld games, and they sort of make different game ideas and different IPs every time. So we're going to move in together. That's what I propose you do, as like just move in with everyone else here and get started. For us, that really works out. I mean, so both studios are between 20 and 25 people. We're just going to move in together so that we can work on certain things tighter together, like test each other's games the whole time, and concentrate PR, marketing, and publishing, like have like a core function for that, for both companies. Because another thing that Agnieszka said is that you have to have time to do that stuff too. You can't just make games, right? So it's really good if you can like concentrate that, get people who are good at it, and perhaps have it do it for you and another studio or another couple of studios. We have like the same joint owner who owns 50% of Thunderful, and what they do is they really take a backseat role. They just finance us when we need money, which is delightful. You should always find people like that who are happy to give you money and shut up at the same time. So that's it. I mean, we also get to share a lot of info with Zoink. We have no secrets at all. So together, like this is what it looks like right now. As 45 people, we've sold a little bit over 2 million games together. We've released 16 games, but this one is the really interesting thing. It's like we now together we have so many games in the pipeline that are on some level of completion, and that we're sort of doing this jointly with PR, marketing, publishing. We wouldn't be able. It would just cost very much to have a team for Image Inform and a team for Zoink. That's how we've had it before. Now we're sort of just escalating stuff and doing it together. Oh, this too, like, there's a handsome guy there and a guy in a regular sweater. So we just got Ed Valiente the other day. Ed Valiente used to be the head of third-party publishing or third-party relations at Nintendo of Europe. I'm including it because it's sort of a milestone for us too, when we're recruiting someone, relocating them from another country, bringing him and his family to Sweden and setting that up. It's really exciting, and it's also like the first time we're getting a co-worker who is somebody. If you understand what I mean by that, it's like we're very friendly and so on at Image Inform, but we're a bunch of nobodies, right? This is someone who knows a lot of people in the industry. Like, I could recommend doing the same. If you find someone who knows a lot of people, it's a good contact to have. If you can work together with a person like that, really recommend it. So Thunderful from now on is the core focus from the beginning will be that Thunderful takes care of the self-publishing efforts at Image and Form and at Sonic, but we're also going to look at other games, and we're going to publish other awesome games. They have to be very good, because that's sort of the games that we that we like. I'm going to talk first a little bit about, that was a long introduction, sorry about that. And I'm going to talk about IP a little bit, because it is so important. Intellectual property, meaning like that you have the rights. IP rights are like rights to your game and the game characters and everything. Genre isn't the same as intellectual property. I mean, it's really important for you to take ownership of your intellectual property, I think. Like if you talk to a publisher and publish your game that way, very often you lose the rights to your IP, and that can be problematic, because that means that you might not be able to make a sequel to your own game in the long run. If the publisher owns the IP, they can decide what to do with it afterwards. So genres are like different types of games, obviously, and then intellectual property is everything, everything in the game. So I would suggest that what I mean by the power of IP is you should really cultivate your IP. When you make games, you should think about the IP, the characters, the world, etc. in the game. At Image and Form, we've done that with Steam World, and we're sort of taking the world across game genres all the time. We've decided that Steam World shouldn't be like one type of game. We should be able to make any kind of game in the Steam World series. So, tower defense game, then a digging game, and then a turn-based combat game set in space, and so on. But the thing that ties them together is the IP, that's SteamWorld, and it has enormous benefits, because whenever if you like the SteamWorld game and we say we're going to release a new SteamWorld game, even though it could be a completely different game, you're going to trust the brand a little bit and at least consider buying that game. So I really want, like, if there's one thing that you're going to take away from all this dribble, it's that, like, when you make games, make sure that you focus on the IP. Like, in your games, there has to be something that you can sort of circle it around. It's really, really important. So getting stuck, like in a genre, is very simple, right? But it has drawbacks. It's like means that you can sort of be branded as a maker of that or another type of game. It is convenient because you can use the same tech if you make like games in the same genre the whole time, and you can sort of cater to exactly the same community, and you can sort of just make it a little bit better every time. I mean, we have actually done that now with SteamWorld Dig and SteamWorld Dig 2. We thought it was going to be super simple to make SteamWorld Dig 2. It took a lot longer than making the original, actually. Not because we are getting worse, but just we wanted to flesh it out so much. So it's really convenient. If you're, like, it's the lazy choice to sort of stick to the same genre, if I can put it. But it can be really boring just to make the same games, and also it can be dangerous. It can be boring. I know this because we made 25 to 30 games in a edutainment series before we started self-publishing our own games, and it was just towards the end, meaning like the last 20 or so of those games was just creative suicide. It wasn't fun going to work. You know exactly what you're going to do, and it's infuriating even. It's like you get so bored with it. And also, I mean, like, it could be dangerous, you know, if you sort of just stick to one thing the whole time. That, yeah, it like could be that you're sort of restricting yourself to a consumer base that was the people who bought your game the last time. And also, I mean, you're not really learning if you're just doing the same thing the whole time. And then people might quit because they get bored. So at Image and Form, I mean, that's almost like a conscious decision to sort of do different things the whole time. We don't have people quit, really. Probably because I threaten them every day. No, but it's actually quite good. Right? They can do interesting stuff, sort of invent new things. So, like, if you can use the same IP over and over for different games, I think that could be really cool. That's really all you need to do that, to create like a strong IP. Like, think up some world or some setting or some characters that are interesting, right? Not bland, like not an Italian plumber or some bullshit like that. That would never work. And then, like, you have this setting, like for us it's Steam World, like this world where these steam-driven robots live and work. You sort of know that you're coming back to the same game developer from game to game. It could be really dangerous, right, to do this kind of experimenting the whole time, or sort of trusting your community to trust you, if you understand what I mean, that they're going to keep supporting you the whole time. And it's also very expensive to make different games, different types of games, like compared to doing the same type of game every time. So it's risky, but I don't, like, everyone who is an indie developer has a very good concept of risk, I think, or a healthy concept of it, because yeah, like you were saying before, Dick, that it's kind of stupid to just quit your job, like, and not have savings. But I think most of us in this room are stupid in that way. I mean, we sort of want, this is what we want to do, I think. Like, it's the dream, and that's why we're doing it. So it could be dangerous, but yeah, I don't think we're very afraid of danger. Also, it's kind of also means that you can if you have different types of gameplay, you can sort of also find out what works and what doesn't work, right? So, like, if you're just sort of going down one path and that sort of starts to dwindle, you're sort of stuck in a dangerous place, I think. And also, I mean, we're in a spot now, at least, where people are speculating in social media, what will the next SteamWorld game be? That's a fine situation to be in. And so we really like doing things this way. I think another thing that is extremely important is time to market, like what the platform is. If we just decide that we're going to make a mobile game because we're going to make a mobile game, that's very, very dangerous, I think. Like when we released SteamWorld Dig, the original, it was the Nintendo 3DS and Steam. Steam wasn't really new, but it was sort of starting to, or it was exploding around then. You could actually make quite a bit of money on putting a game on Steam. And 3DS was kind of new. The jury was still out if it was going to be a success or not. It turned out fine. Is that how many minutes I've got left? 10?
There's not anymore.
I think 2017, obviously, or 2018 as well, is the Nintendo Switch. Does anyone here have a dev kit for Nintendo Switch? Right. Are you interested in one, or? No?
It's hard to get here. It was hard to get here in 2016. As far as I know, some developers tried, right? Elvis tried, for example. But yeah, you need a bit more street cred, and I think our games are not on that level yet.
Maybe. but I think if you don't try it, you're never going to get one. Right? It's like, I think really you should contact Nintendo of Europe and tell them to send you a dev kit. Obviously, you need to sort of send them some reason to do that. Like, I think in 2016 it was a waste of time for a lot of people. Yeah, because they were at that point they were really sort of handpicking who was going to get a dev kit. It's not like that anymore. You should really check them out, and it's really no bullshit, because the Switch is a lot healthier than many other platforms right now. I think maybe in 2 years we're going to be looking at PlayStation 5. I have no idea about that. Like in next year or year after that, then regardless of what Sony says, I think it's time for them to sort of to go on to a new platform. Just going to compare a few things between SteamWorld and SteamWorld 2, so you can see what has evolved and what we've done a little bit differently. When we made SteamWorld, I was a lot thinner, and we were fewer. We were about 10 people. This dog didn't do very much work either. When we launched SteamWorld 2, we were 22 people in the office. It just means that you can do a lot more. Being a lot of people is great, but efficiency also sort of dwindles, right? You have to sort of tackle that somehow. And when we rolled out SteamWorld, it came out on a lot of platforms, but like very spaced. As you can see, like this, like between the first 4 SKUs there were 12 months. So it was not really a focused effort. SteamWorld 2, it was a lot tighter. I mean, so it came out on Switch, Steam, PS4, and Vita within 5 days, and you could sort of tell that we had a halo effect. Like, if you're familiar with the term, that we would get sales on one platform because it was selling well on another platform. Also, I mean, I think it's important to improve, like to make. I think life is too short to make bad games, if I can express it that way, because I think games need to be very good, right? It does something to you if you make a good game. Like you just feel complete in a way that, and instead of sort of just hoping to make a great game, it's much better to actually make one. So I think we can always discuss this, like that we're spending too much time on our games. That's true everywhere. But like spending time to polish a game is, if you can do it wisely, then you should definitely spend that time and do work for hire or something in the meantime to sort of to have time to actually polish it and not release rubbish, because it doesn't deserve any success. So 82 out of 100 for SteamWorld, 88 out of 100 for SteamWorld 2, and getting a Metacritic score that high isn't very easy actually. It's very much love has gone into SteamWorld 2. Finally, the economics. The only thing you came to see is, I'm not going to divulge numbers, but just relations. So when we released SteamWorld on 3DS, if that was X, then we actually in the first 7 days we made like we sold 7.5 times as many units on Switch compared to the 3DS. And both of these games actually got pretty good press from the beginning, so I think they're pretty comparable. So 7.5 times the units, but with SteamWorld 2 we also finally grew the balls to actually charge for a game. So that game was twice as expensive, and that means that we actually made a little bit more than twice as much. So 18.5 the money that we made from SteamWorld, which is really significant, obviously. To us it was, at least. This is how the platform ratio looked. That's this is kind of what I mean by when I say it's not bullshit that you should really try to get a Switch dev kit, because